Welcome back to the channel, Tesla fans. I know it's been a while, but in this video I'm going to be talking about my experiences of owning my Tesla Model 3 Performance that I bought 4 years ago. I've now had 4 years with the car, done just over 30,000 miles, so I thought this might be a good point to fill you guys in on what's been happening in the last 4 years. So if you're ready, let's get going.
Window, you know, up and down, I think.
So some of you may have followed my journey back in 2019 when I first ordered and took delivery of the car, which was one of the first Model 3s in the UK at the time. My intention then was to do a series of videos about the car, about my thoughts of ownership, but after I took delivery, that never really happened. So I apologise if you were waiting for those videos, guys. But then we had a pandemic, life got very weird for a while, but here we are 4 years down the line, and I thought, again, it would be a good time to do an honest update video of my likes, my dislikes, and the good, the bad, and in some cases the downright pointless that is with the car. So just to recap, I first put a reservation deposit on my Model 3 in 2016, £1,000 deposit. I placed my order on the 1st of May 2019, initially for a long range model, but then Tesla changed their pricing policy, and I realised that for another £100 over what I would have been paying, I could have a performance, so I decided to upgrade to a performance model. I took a basic spec car, white one. The only upgrade that I had was the full self-driving package, which I thought would be a good investment, and I thought that, according to Elon, it would be happening anytime soon, and we're 4 years down the line and it really doesn't look any closer. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I finally took delivery of the car on the 22nd of August in 2019. You can watch my thoughts of the delivery day up here. I do that. I see people do that on videos. I don't know if it actually works or not. I'm going to try it. So what are my first impressions of the car after 4 years of ownership? So in terms of highlights, I would say one of the biggest highlights would have to be the low cost of ownership of the car. A few days ago, I took my car into Tesla Chelmsford to have its first ever service. So in 4 years, the car had only ever been to the service centre twice before. The first time was because I was too dumb to figure out how the windscreen wipers worked. So I took it to Tesla service at Dartford, and they showed me how hard I had to press the button to get the windscreen washers to work, and then they slapped me on my head and sent me on my way at no cost to me apart from a big dent to my pride. So that was very embarrassing. The second visit was shortly after my first MOT in September 22. I'd been experiencing a slow puncture on the rear driver's side tyre for months that I just kept topping up. I took it to a local tyre centre to be checked, and they couldn't find a fault, which was really strange. So eventually I just got the tyre replaced, but within a couple of weeks I developed what appeared to be a similar slow puncture on the passenger side rear tyre. Luckily, when I replaced the tyres, I bought part warns, so it wasn't costing me a fortune to replace the tyres, but still, it wasn't good to have tyres going so quickly. So when I took the car for its first MOT, the test centre said that the tyre was worn down to the bands, and suggested that I probably needed to get the wheels aligned, because that was the likely cause of the unexpected tyre wear. So none of the local tyre centres in Harlow had the right laser equipment to do the realignment. So I took the car to Tesla Chelmsford again, who did have the equipment, and they fixed it at a cost of £316 for me. but that was money well spent, as I've not had an issue with my tyres since. This week's visit to Tesla Chelmsford was because the car had started making a loud creaking sound from the front steering, which was really disconcerting, and we were worried that there might be a safety issue to be concerned about. Also, I knew that my next MOT was due, and I wanted to get the car serviced as it had never been done before, and I also wanted to get the tyres checked, as I knew that they were probably going to be the most likely thing that I would foul the upcoming MOT on, if anything. I'd never rotated them, and obviously the previous problems that I'd had left me feeling a little bit uneasy about tyres, so I thought that was a wise move to get those checked. Initially, Tesla had quoted me about £190 for the service in the app, which I didn't think was too bad, but I had to sit and wait while they did the work, as they didn't have a courtesy car available for me. But once the service was done, my invoice cost was only £126, which was a pleasant surprise. The steering noise turned out to be a known fault with the front upper control arms on this year model car. So Tesla carried out the repair work under warranty, which was also good because that didn't cost me anything. On the plus side, it also gave me the opportunity to test drive a Model Y long range while I was waiting. And I think I potentially made Tesla a sale as I parked up to take a look around the car in a local car park at the end of the test drive route. And I was making this quick video, which you can see now. And there was an old guy going back to his car in the car park, and he asked me if he could have a tour. So I took him around the car. He seemed very impressed at the end of the tour. So and I had to explain to him that I actually wasn't a Tesla salesman. I was just a customer waiting for my car to be serviced. But I've got to say, I was impressed with the Model Y. It was a nice, seemingly well-built car, very quiet, although the visibility out of the back window left a lot to be desired. But definitely, I would certainly have one of those if finances allow in the future. The only other thing I noticed in the showroom while I was waiting for the service was my first look in the flesh at a Tesla Model S Plaid, which they had, which like the new Model X is only available now in left-hand drive. Apparently, the reason for this is something to do with the motor configuration on those models, which means that they can't just switch around the steering column for right-hand drive cars. That was according to the salesman anyway. So I've wandered a little off topic, but for my likes, the cost of ownership is right up there. So apart from the £450 in service and repair costs I've already mentioned, the cost of a few part-worn tyres and a pair of windscreen wipers and a couple of MOTs, there's been nothing over the last 4 years, so I've probably spent less than £750 in total on the car. Compared with my previous cars, which were BMWs most recently, where a basic service would cost me over £400 without them doing anything in addition, I think the car's been really, really good value for money, I have to say. While we're talking about the positives, you really can't ignore the raw speed of these things.
Yeah.
0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds on the 2019 model. Instant torque and acceleration that allows you to jump into any gap, get away from the lights without a worry of anybody else interfering with you. Plus having that speed on tap is just great fun. I hate to say it, but you do feel superior to all the boy racers sitting there with their irritating snap, crackle, pop exhausts. And you know you can roast them effortlessly off the line should you be in a mischievous mood and feel the need. So anyway, one of my biggest favourite things is probably the software upgrades. When I bought the car, it was on the basis that I might never need to buy another car. The motors would never die. The interior is so minimalist that there's nothing to come loose or break or fall off. The batteries might lose a bit of range over time, but still have plenty for day-to-day driving. But the main thing was that as the software and functionality improved, I would still get the benefit of those improvements automatically at no extra charge. That was a massive selling point for me. That was one of the reasons I also got full self-drive, as even though it's still as unlikely to happen anytime soon as me having a romantic interlude with Kelly Brook, when it does finally happen, full self-drive, not the romantic interlude, then I'll have the same functionality as a new car that is just being driven off the forecourt. And that was a really big deal for me, and one of the main reasons why I bought the car in the first place. So hopefully full self-drive will happen, and also hopefully robo-taxi will happen, and at some stage in the future this car might generate an income for me as well by acting as a robo-taxi. It's another reason I bought the car outright, really. It's mine. I don't have to give it back to Tesla after 3 or 4 years when the lease expires, which I think is currently the situation with their leases at present. You do have to give the car back. You can't have an option to buy it at the end of the lease. There are other functional things that I like. The ability of the car to recognise who's driving and set the car up for them, the automatic high beams, the advanced cruise control and safety features, the looks, which I still really like, even after 4 years. Even when Teslas now are ubiquitous on British roads, I still get that feeling when I go out to sit in the car that I'm driving something special every day, and that certainly wasn't the case with previous cars. In other cars I've had in the past, after a couple of years, I've got a bit bored of driving them. The tech was getting out of date. There was new features on the newer vehicles that I wanted, so I'd always be keen to change them out and get something new. But with the Model 3, that's never really been an issue. The only thing I kind of do miss is a power boot, because my 2019 model didn't have one. But apart from that, really, there's nothing that I miss that I feel that I would need to replace the car for. I love the fact that when I bought the car in the first place, I placed an order on the internet at the same price and terms as everybody else who wanted one at the same time. There was no negotiation, there was no haggling, there was no buyer's remorse. It was simple and fair. That's how all car sales should be, in my opinion. I know there have been some good and bad, though. There's been some winners and losers with this, especially at the start of the year when Tesla cut their prices quite dramatically overnight. And if you'd have placed an order the week before that price cut, I think you'd have been very upset and disappointed. But generally, I think the principle's a good one, and I think it's a good thing. My last main like, I think, is the security features on the car. Dash cam, Sentry mode, the ability now to have a live feed from the car, I think is great. Dash cam has come in handy as well, especially when I missed a deer once on a drive to Norfolk, which I sent into Wham Bam Tesla Cam, but I've no idea whether they ever used that video or not. If you've seen that video, send me a link to it, because I'd quite like to see it myself. Generally, though, they're great features that you just don't get on other cars, and there are countless examples on YouTube of people using those features to catch the half-wits who vandalise their cars or to prove that they weren't responsible for an accident, and I think that's a great thing. So I suppose now I should really look at some of the things that I've not been a fan of in the last 4 years. On top of that list would be the fact that everything in the car works off of that main central screen. I found that to be annoying beyond belief, and in some situations really quite dangerous, especially if, like me, your eyesight isn't great and you can't see the screen immediately where something is while you're driving to be able to make a minor adjustment to the heating or the windscreen wipers. For me, there's no reason why basic functions like that shouldn't have buttons that you can just reach out and touch instinctively and adjust instinctively without having to stare at a screen and try and find a menu or something that you need to adjust without knowing whether you're adjusting it or not. It's just, that's not great for me. To me, it's just minimalism for minimalism's sake and to save a little bit on production costs. I'd rather pay a bit more and have a few basic buttons. You might argue you can set those things with voice commands, but they don't always work, and you don't always know the right command to give to get the desired results anyway. So I don't think that's really a great option. For all the set it and forget it stuff, like driving preferences, seat and mirror positions, I've got no problem with that at all being done on the screen, as you can do that stuff while stationary, and once it's done, it's done. But for stuff you need to adjust while you're on the move, you should have something tactile that you can locate and adjust without having to take your eyes off the road. That's my view anyway. My other big gripe is Autopilot. We were sold this some years ago as being an imminent development, and I thought that even if it took a couple of years, it would still be worth it. 4 years on, it's still not working, and Autopilot is glitchy at best. My wife won't let me use it when she's in the car because of the phantom braking and some of the unpredictable things it does. I do use it when I'm out on my own, but you do need to stay pretty alert, as when it's on, I find myself taking over on regular occasions because I just don't trust the car to navigate a tight bend safely. On motorways, it's more reliable, but still the phantom braking's a concern. The other irritating thing with full self-drive is that you can't take it with you if you change the car. I know they've offered this recently as a short-term incentive to boost sales, but if I've bought and paid for full self-drive, which has never worked, I should be able to take it with me if I decide I want to change my car. It's a big investment and a big deal, and if something happened to my car, I will have paid for something that I actually never received. That's not good or fair in my opinion. And while we're talking about features that I've paid extra for that just don't work, summon. That needs to be top of the list. I know that due to law in the UK, you can't have the car drive itself across a car park to where you're standing. But even if you want to move it backwards or forwards a couple of feet and you're standing next to the thing, you press the button to move it forward, it comes to life, it thinks about it for 30 seconds. If you're lucky, it'll move forward 2 inches and then it just shuts down. Now, I don't know if I'm the only person having that problem or I'm doing something wrong. Is it the windscreen wipers again? I don't know. But if you've had better experiences with Summon, please leave me a comment below because I just can't get it to work, so I never use it now. Something that does work is the auto park facility, but it takes so long that I never use that either, as it's quite embarrassing to sit in the car while it manoeuvres backwards and forwards for 5 minutes to try and find its way into a parking space, and I can just park the car myself in a matter of seconds. So I just don't use the auto park function. The other minor irritant I have with the car is that when I first got it, thanks to you good people on YouTube, I managed to amass 14,000 referral miles for free supercharging. But unfortunately, Tesla decided that they'd only let me have that benefit for a year, and then they scrubbed those supercharger miles off of my account, which I was pretty upset about because I think I only got the chance to use about 1,200 miles before they scrubbed the account. I think if they give you an incentive to sell their cars and you deliver on that, and they give you a benefit, then they should give you that benefit and not take that benefit away a year later just because you haven't used it all up yet. Those 14,000 miles would have probably still be lasting me today, considering I've only done 30,000 miles on the car full stop. Similarly, having to pay a subscription for premium connectability after the first year was another annoyance that I don't think was made clear when I ordered the car, so that was irritating. The last minor irritant was some free mud flaps that they sent me. Free stuff, you think, that's good. They neglected to mention though that for the performance, because it's set up 3 centimetres lower than a standard car, when you fit the mud flaps, when you go around the corner, they scrape on the floor. which was very, very irritating. My wife drives the car more than I do these days because I work from home, and I've had to sit and listen to my wife moan constantly about the noise that the mud flaps make until the point when they actually wore down to a standard that they're not really hitting the floor as much these days. So I could have taken them off again, but again, that was just a waste of time and a bit of an irritant. I've left them on, so yeah, I could have done without the mud flaps. Thank you, Tesla. So what else is there to comment on? Really, only the stuff that I've found to be pretty pointless on the car and I've rarely, if ever, used. Top of that list, as I'm sure it is for everybody, fart mode. Yep, that's the one. The only time fart mode ever comes out is when you're actually showing people around the car and you demonstrate it's got a fart mode, which is funny for 10 seconds. Similarly with romance mode, never used it. The days of me having romance in the car are long gone. So that's a bit of a pointless option for me. In-car gaming, yeah. I've used it occasionally, I would say. Skyforce I've played a few times while I've been waiting for charges to happen at superchargers. The only good thing about their games is they load up a hell of a lot faster than Xbox or PS5 games. So there's a leaf out of Tesla's book that Microsoft and Sony could certainly take, because their consoles are just unplayable for me these days when you have to wait 2 days for a game to load up. So yeah, on that side, they're good, I suppose. Generally though, the car's been a pleasure to live with. Currently, I'm just getting over 3 miles per kilowatt hour in terms of performance, which I suppose isn't great. But we charge overnight on a cheap rate with Octopus, so it's not expensive to charge. In the summer, we must have saved an absolute fortune on fuel, especially when compared to when petrol was running at £2 a litre not so long ago. I had one particularly interesting conversation with the owner of a BMW X5 in a car wash at the time, who told me that it was costing him £200 to fill his tank on that car, and he went white and nearly fell over when I told him it cost me less than a tenner to fill mine. So that was interesting. Realistic range in the summer is probably about 250 miles. So quite a bit below the advertised 329. That was the listed number when I bought the car. I don't think was ever really going to be an achievable real-world figure, but still, it's still quite a bit under that. It's not really been a problem, though, even on long runs for holidays. That's really been thanks to the excellence of the supercharger network, which is very reliable, and there always seem to be available stalls. So range anxiety has never really been an issue for me. Do I think anything is missing from the cars presently that might make me consider buying another brand in the future? I've got solar panels and battery storage, which I had put in about a year ago. So to be able to connect the car to the house and actually run the house off of the car battery and recharge the batteries from solar, or I think that would be a massive benefit, because obviously then you could have cheap rate recharging overnight and then run the house on those winter days when you're not getting solar energy off of the car battery. And that is something that I would seriously consider now. If I bought another car, I might look at a car that's got that facility, because I think it would be a big benefit, and it would also cut my energy bills down to nothing, I would think. So have I got any regrets? I suppose the only real regret I've got is that I didn't buy Tesla shares back in June 2019 when they were trading at $190 a share. That was really before their share split, where they split their shares 5-1. If I'd have invested the money that I intended to invest at the time, I would probably have been able to retire now and pay off my mortgage, But unfortunately, I didn't buy those shares because I couldn't figure out how to buy shares on the US stock exchange, and the moment passed me by, unfortunately. So that's my big regret in terms of Tesla. Sometimes you snooze and you lose. My only other regret is that my Tesla Model 3 song didn't go viral or make it to number one. Yeah, that's disappointing. When I Love Sausage Rolls can make it to number one, how can Oh Lord, Won't You Buy Me a Tesla Model 3 not get to number one? I don't know. Anyway. So that's about it for me. That's my pluses, minuses, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up so other Tesla fans might see it and find it useful. In terms of subscribing, I never really know what my next video is going to be about. So unless you want to get random videos from me on random subjects, you probably don't need to subscribe. But if you want to, all good. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up so other Tesla fans might see it and find it useful. But as I never know what my next video is going to be about, you may not need to subscribe unless you want to get a random video from me on guitar playing or some other random topic where I've been on holiday. But thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll be posting something else Tesla related soon. Thanks again for watching.